even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it
I hate
for
these
us.
average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my old flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on. To the hearse, party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete, I'm a verbal athlete. Deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Grand Rising and good morning, everybody out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. Want to extend a terrific Tuesday to you. It's definitely a terrific Tuesday over here in the Black Media Matters studios. I am so glad I get to be in studio back again with my co-host with the most, Big O. What up, Big O?
Good morning, Trey Holiday.
Hey, good morning, my friend.
Yeah, we haven't been together in the studio in maybe like almost going on 2 weeks.
Look,
huh?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Well, you look fantastic today, as usual.
Well, you as well. I'm digging your look today.
No,
your
we
vibes.
got the matching glasses now today, too. You know, we're coordinating 2 days in a row.
There we go.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. We got a great show lined up today. Man, we got Queen Bree from over at Rainier Avenue Radio talking about all the stuff, the Black History Month events that are going on over there. I know they're having a discussion about Black folks in tech. And then also being an African immigrant in Black America. So these are real important discussions, and Queen Bree's going to fill us in on that. And then we've got school board president Brandon Hersey in the building. And I can say this, you know what I'm saying, is that when he was appointed, now he was just elected, so the people have spoken, but when he was just appointed to the school board many, many moons ago, his first sit-down interview was with us over on South Jackson Street. So, you know, very happy to have him in here. You know what I'm saying? School board president Hersey, the youth is the truth. Is that's still it? The youth is the truth? Okay. That's what's up. So great show lined up. We'll get it going here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. Want to remind you that right now is a perfect time for you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with people you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Want to give a big shout out to our partners over the South Seattle Emerald and also KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. Reminder that you can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Right there, someone's got SoundCloud up on the screen, but you can also find us on Google, iTunes, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. All you have to do is search Converge Media Network. All right, we got a link here. We got a new link today. This is the hereforus.org link, and we learned about Here For Us yesterday. Website rolled out by the Department of Health, Washington State Department of Health. Got some culturally relevant and curated information on there for people if you want to get vaccinated, booster shot, test. If you got questions, it's really built around people who are questions and hesitant as well. So a new resource.
Yeah, and it was great to talk to Disha yesterday and understand a little bit more about why they said there was a need for this. I mean, they had intentionality in talking to community groups and really centering those voices of folks who have been hesitant. Some of the, as Councilmember Gurmai said, this misinformation out there and a lot of folks being misinformed. I think it's clear that the Department of Health said they wanted to step in and they wanted to do it in a culturally responsive way. So hereforuswa.org, you guys can check that out. There's definitely some great content by Black content creators, I'd love to say too, because their intentionality was through and through.
Yeah, no doubt. Big shout out as well to C+C and the Anchor Group. I'm so happy to be working with the Anchor Group. Black-owned ad agency. The legend, the icon, Mr. Larry. You know what I'm saying? So lots of good stuff on the horizon there. And also remind everybody, freecovidtests.gov. You get the COVID test delivered to the crib. You know what I'm saying? Hey, government sending them. This is the last day, KEXP. The last day, if you haven't checked this out. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you got somebody on your couch sucking up all that air, eating up all the food out the refrigerator, have them go and fill out, see if they get an internship over there at KEXP, learn how to do show booking, social media, on-air production. $22 an hour, Trey Holiday.
Yeah, and these are the kind of roles that a lot of young people are interested in right now. I mean, they're already on their phones doing social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, you name it. I mean, they are some of the most content creators that are out there on the social ethosphere. And I think that this is a great opportunity. And I also want to say, we have a lot of young Black people in our community that love music. They love creating beats. They love being audio engineers, teaching themselves on different tools and different software. Man, this is a great internship for them to really get some hands-on experience in a professional environment.
Yep. Last day. This is the last day. So KEXP was it .org /internship. So go ahead and check that out. Big shout out to KXP for their intentionality. And they said that the response has been overwhelming. So hey, we're doing our job. All right. So I was walking here this morning and, I walked down First Avenue over kind of right in front of Pike Place Market. And around that time, 7 a.m. is when the sidewalks kind of get, I don't know if swept out is the right word, but maybe so, is where people who are unhoused, who are sitting there in front of some of these buildings, security will come and ask them to move. And sometimes they go ahead and move. And sometimes people are like, hey, man, I'm sitting here. So anyways, I didn't get the beginning. I saw it with my own eyes, but I'm always careful about video because there's always something that happened before and something that happened after. But I can tell you this. So I was walking and this person was sitting there. And what caught my attention is one of the armed security was like, hey, you need to get up. You need to move along. Right. And so, I'm looking around. I'm like, hold up, man. Who are you talking? Who are you talking to? And I noticed that there was a person there who appeared to be in an unhoused state. And they told him to move along, that person to move along again. And then I looked and I turned around and 3 armed security had now picked this person up. And that's when I started recording. All right. And so, at least from what I could tell, it's like they moved this person who was sitting on the west side of the street and move them over to the east side of the street. And when you see them moving over to the east side of the street, you see the push, the person fell down. There was some discussion back and forth, but it's not uncommon. A lot of people don't realize around the 7 a.m. hour, somewhere in there, Seattle transformed. This is when all the people come out. You see cleaning crews, the security moving people and everything else. By 8, 9 a.m., then a lot of the people who are unhoused on the street are no longer visible.
This is really shocking to me because you're right. I'm not out in the downtown streets at that hour. And the idea is that there's private security, obviously, there probably to protect whatever building this person was in front of originally. But the idea is, for me, I just got to be honest, that is there a better way to do this? You know what I mean? I mean, looking at how it took 3 of them to pick this person up and literally drop them on the just across the street. I don't know if that's really doing the job. Is it just to clear that building, to clear that space? There's so many questions I have after viewing that, but it's something that you're right. Oh, a lot of us just don't see.
Yeah. And, like I said, I wasn't there. I always like to say what happened 5 minutes before, what happened 5 minutes after, but I just saw what I saw. I mean, it's not uncommon. Like I said, I'm usually walking to the studio between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., between that range right there. And I mean, it just kind of makes you wonder, though, that if it's just kind of moving along, you're really just moving a person from maybe one block to another block, or moving a person literally from one side of the street to another side of the street. And I mean, for optics, that probably solves the problem, because this is something people don't want to see. They don't want to see unhoused people. So maybe that problem, the optics side, might have been solved. But like, where are these people going now? And yeah, it's really interesting. Like I said, it's a lot of private security downtown, and a few different firms, and a few different approaches as far as demeanor with a few different firms as well. And so be interesting. I don't know if anybody else has any kind of similar stories or whatever of what's going on, man. Hit me up, Omari at whereweconverge.com.
Yeah, I'm also really interested to see how the Regional Homelessness Authority is looking at these types of tactics and strategies. And I wonder if it's a part of some of their plans here, because when we think about the unhoused population, I mean, some folks are like, look, that's a culture. There's some people that don't want to be housed. And so I think there's a wide variety of people that are in that kind of situation. I just wonder how the Regional Homelessness Authority is also looking at something like that, in terms of, how to incorporate a new strategy with something like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is as well, it's not a crime not to have a home.
Yeah.
I mean, we should always keep that in mind. It's real interesting is that the things that people can see, I mean, it's human nature. The things that people can see, they're like, oh, well, let's try to address this. But there's a bunch of deeper issues that oftentimes get overlooked. One other thing I wanted to bring up here, and this was actually the other day, but now we're back here in the studio together, is Mayor Harrell, depending on how you look at it, he extended but also extinguished the eviction ban. So there it is right there. The full article is there in Capitol Hill Seattle blog, our buddy Justin Carter over there. But basically, the eviction ban was supposed to end yesterday, Valentine's Day. And what the mayor has done is extended it to the end of the month, and then it expires. So it's a wrap. There's no more after the last day of this month. Now, they found $25 million. They've been able to gather $25 million, and they're trying to be able to work with people who are in a bad situation with their landlords. There's a few different programs. Like I said, Salman's put the link there in the comments on some of the programs going. But the eviction ban is now officially coming to an end the last day of this month.
Well, I know that this has really caused some concern. I keep getting some notifications around different actions that groups are taking to protect renters and also small landlords, as it says there, because we don't want to put the burden on landlords either. The ones that are like, maybe they have 1 or 2 units. I mean, that's not their primary source of income, or maybe it is, but that's all they have. And so the ideas of how community is coming together in this regard is really strong. And it's interesting because a lot of this work really started last year when the ideas of these eviction bans really lifting, people started to gather. They started to figure out, is there new legislation or policies we need to be pushing for? Are there new ways that we can do this? And so it's interesting because there's more funding that's going into things like tiny houses, right? Tiny home villages, and trying to have more transitional housing for those who are unhoused, and transitional housing in case anybody does get evicted. So these ideas around different ways and different approaches, they're here.
Yeah, well, I would say that the King County Superior Court months and months ago, I remember we were talking about this, they came out with a program of mediation way back when between tenants and landlords. It didn't cost the tenants anything or the landlord, because the last thing really, to be honest with you, that the King County Sheriff probably wants to do is go out and start evicting people. Right. And so I know the county has a program. There's different things that are out there. If you're in distress, if you know somebody in distress on the verge of eviction, like I said, you click the link that's there in the comments. There's a bunch of different resources in that article out there. Definitely don't want to see people out in the streets.
Yeah, definitely don't. I mean, we already have, as we were just talking about, we already have a crisis with housing, and we don't want this to be an additional barrier to, folks being housed. I mean, this is something that I think is really going to take a strong approach from a statewide perspective.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Well, it's Black History. How you been doing for Black History Month? You been doing all right?
Yeah, definitely enjoying myself and also educating myself. It's always a great time to really kind of hunker in and do some of that great work with my son. So it's good.
Yeah. What's very interesting, and sometimes I was watching Amend. It's about the 14th Amendment. And one of the guys said that, the whole history of separate but equal in America was always separate but unequal, but it's still so separate that Black history has to have its own separate month. But I always try to remind people that Black history is American history. You know what I'm saying? Like, we spotlight it, but we're part and parcel of this story here in America, and especially right now with the whitewashing of American history and some everything else. It's important for people to realize that our history is American history.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And when we talk about America is one of those places that people seek to come to because it is so multicultural. And ultimately, it's everybody bringing their brilliance to the table that really makes America a draw for other countries and other people to want to come here, want to establish a life here. And so I think we have to think about that too, in terms of how we embrace each other's history. This is not something that needs to be studied only in the month of February, but literally we celebrate Black history here every day at Converge Media, and in all of the sectors that I work in, it's about a lot of Blackness, to be honest. And so, we
know you all about the Blackness, Trey. There's no doubts about that. Well, who also celebrates and uplifts Black history and Black culture on the daily is our friends over at Rainier Avenue Radio. You know what I'm saying? And man, once again this year, they've outdone themselves. And up next, we have, there she is, Queen Bree, project manager over at Rainier Avenue Radio. And she's going to pop in and let us know what they have going on this month. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, You'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to the doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, co-host, and now with me on set is Queen Bree, Rainier Avenue Radio's own Queen Bree. Hi, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me again. What's up, everybody?
Look,
I'm a pro now. What's up?
Yeah, Queen Bree's like, hey, it's all good now at this point. But O's right when he said there before the break that you guys have been so intentional. We really got to witness this last year with the plethora of things that Rainier Avenue Radio had going on. Tell us about some of the upcoming events and things that people can tap into for Black History Month.
Yes. Look, Tony is brilliant at what he's doing. And we have all these amazing events. Look, I got to pull up my phone. We have so many amazing events. So tonight, you guys, don't forget to check out. We have Jazz from Jazz Cabinets hosted by Big Poppy. And they'll be highlighting all the Black jazz players from 6 to 7. And tonight we'll be I'm very interested in this conversation. Being an African-American being an African immigrant in Black America. This is such an important conversation to have. I've worked with a lot of people that have been from Africa that weren't born and raised here. And just listening to their stories and having my stories and trying to figure out where the disconnect is, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So having these conversations, they'll be talking about topics about how has media portrayed a negative image of Black people. What are relationships between Blacks and Africans? You'd be surprised at the relationships. We see ourselves, well, I'll speak on my perspective as a Black woman. When I see an African descent, I'm like, we are one, but they don't see themselves as that sometimes. And that's because of how we're portrayed in the media, how we're portrayed when they first get in here and what they're told about us. So having these open conversations is so important. And that is from 7 to 8. So please check that out. Tomorrow, we have Northwest Black Pioneers and Community Builder Series. So for an hour, starting at noon until 1:30, we'll have 4 different speakers: Vivian Phillips, Bernie Foster, Don Mason, Eddie Wright Jr., and they'll be in there speaking about their service in the community. Thursdays, we'll have Blacks in Technology. Fridays, Seattle Here and Now, hosted by John Yasutake. There'll be jazz musician Booker shares about his experience with racism and the world of music. And then we have Seniors Matter, hosted by Brenda Charles. And there's a party, a Black fraternity and sorority will be having a party at Rainier Avenue Radio. Ending with our Black vendors on Saturday. So if you are a Black vendor out there listening and you want to be a part of our Black vendor market, please email me, and we're highlighting Black vendors this Saturday.
This is a great list of events. And I want to go back to something you were talking about because African immigrants in Black America, right, is such a huge topic. I know there's been panels that I've been on, other ways that I've really been connected to this. I got my opportunity to really work with some African youth a few years ago and, working with them on production and media and being able to understand that their perspective is different, but yet they work to have similarities. And oftentimes when you have second generation African immigrants who, their parents weren't born here, but they grew up here, right? Yep. There is this idea of the ways that they embody Black culture themselves, right? And so I would talk to them about it. I'd look at the things they were wearing, their fashion, the music they're listening to, And oftentimes it was mimicking my own son. And they're like, this is who we are, right? You know, and sometimes I've seen this too, because my sons are part Nigerian. And so when we go down to Chicago and visit, you know, that side of their family, there's this thing where, you know, even his aunts and uncles, my son's aunts and uncles and stuff would be like, yeah, I mean, we don't really speak the language, or, you know, we don't really know how to cook the foods or whatever. And there's this disconnect sometimes from the culture, because they want to be Americanized and kind of distance themselves a little bit from that. So you have such a large perspectives of things that are going on with regard to that topic alone. And then also you mentioned something, and this is, I think this is something a lot of people don't realize. When they come over here from Africa, they are taught not to associate with us and not to see themselves as Black Americans. And this is what I love. I love that now the information about that is really coming out. It's getting uprooted. And we're starting to see more and more connection between our African brothers and sisters and Black Americans, right? Where they are saying, you know what? Hey, I realize, and sometimes it's like tragedy, because I think George Floyd really showcased some things, and then they experience it in their own communities, where if I go outside, they don't know that I'm Ethiopian, Somalian. They don't know that I'm Kenyan, that I'm from Ghana. They don't know that. What they know is that I'm Black.
Right.
And so there is always this kind of, you know, topic that I think I love seeing that Rainier Avenue Radio is doing this. And kudos to you guys. What are some of the things that you guys have been doing already this month that have really impacted you, Bree?
So this month, well, the things we haven't even done what's impacted me. So this month we've had a Black comedy event. We've had a panel where we talked about Black in sports, of course, highlighting Black music. The things that's really impacted me this month for Black history is Black Wall Street. So the week before last, I attended an event at my other job for Black Wall Street, and we had Phil Armstrong in from Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. They have a museum out there, and he was giving us the history of Black Wall Street. So I was fine, and I'm from Oklahoma. And it's like, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm a Black person. I don't know everything I need to know about Black history. That's problem one. But just learning all that stuff about the state that I'm from, not just about Black Wall Street, but about how Oklahoma had all this richness in Black business owners. And it was one of them, they was talking about it was going to be a Black state. And this is just me paraphrasing. But just getting to know more about Black Wall Street has impacted me a lot, because like I said the last time, we need to get back to that. We need to know our history. We need to know about slavery, but we also need to know about, we were business owners. We were kings and queens, and just getting to know that about Black Wall Street. And now next week, we're going to be highlighting Black Wall Street with Rainier Avenue Radio all weekend. So Friday, we'll be kicking it off, talking about Black Wall Street and highlighting women in Black Wall Street. Saturday, there will be an exhibit and we'll have more vendors. And then we'll close it out Sunday with some other business owners. So just really seeing that has really been impacting me and uplifting me. And I'm so happy to see it. I'm so happy it's here.
You know, I agree with you 100%. I think there's, you know, for me, a lot of, you know, out here, like I almost, if I can say almost exclusively, you know, probably upwards of 80 to, 90% shop with Black vendors. And it has really changed the scope of not just my wardrobe, because it's not just about that, even though the fashions are fabulous, but it's really about this connection to amazing stories that Black business owners have. There is so many reasons why people started businesses. And it's so interesting how COVID, even though it's had this kind of these devastating effects, there's also been inspiring effects where people are like, look, I lost my primetime job and I finally got the opportunity to just say, I'm going to give everything I have to this idea that's been brewing in my head for years. And they start their business. And, because they had that opportunity to bet on themselves and to believe in themselves in that way, then we as a community get to benefit and become a patron and a customer of their business. So I love that when you talk about Black markets, I think that's a part of us getting to that Black Wall Street mentality and understanding that there's ways that we can circulate our dollars within our community and really elevate and uplift these amazing Black vendors. So I love hearing that
Thank you.
Black Wall Street has had that effect on you, Bree.
Yes.
And I think it's true for all of us. I have learned so much about it in the last few years that it's one of those things where I always take it back to our ancient ways. First civilizations were by Black people, mathematicians. I mean, almost anything, you name it. And there's so much that's been siphoned off. And as Omari was talking about earlier, this whitewashing of our history, right? So we have to remember that we have always been kings and queens. I love how you put that in there. How do people connect with Rainier Avenue Radio and tap in with all of these amazing events you guys have going on?
Wait, can I just say something real quick to what you
got
just said?
to.
First of all, when we talk about Black vendors, pay the price.
Yeah.
Pay the price. They put their hard-earned money in it. And as Black people, we don't always have the backing of family, friends to put into our business. Pay the price. Don't ask for a discount unless they offer a discount. But vendors don't offer a discount till you can. And I also want to just say Black people are dope. And I'm so happy that I feel like I'm seeing a transition where we're actually recognizing how dope Black people are. Now, to answer your question,
Yes.
you can find us on Twitter at Rainier Avenue Radio. You can find us on IG, Instagram, for those who do not know, at RainierAvenueRadio.com. At Rainier Avenue Radio. Or you can find us on Facebook, or you can just simply go to our website, RainierAvenueRadio.world.com.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Bree.
having me.
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Queen Bree in the building, bringing us the
Hey.
Black History this month. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys, I always get inspired talking to Bree, and I know we're going to continue that inspiration because up next, Big O is going to be sitting down with President Seattle School Board, Brandon Hersey. Got to give it up to my brother, man. That's a hard-earned effort right there. All right, you guys stay tuned. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable. Hey guys, Besa Gordon here with some much needed information about what's happening in our communities when it comes to COVID-19 in 2022. Omicron is actually the latest COVID-19 variant and honestly is hitting our local communities and hospitals pretty hard. You can help out by 1, making sure you are vaccinated, 2, making sure you have your booster, and 3, simply masking up. As we learn more about COVID-19, we're also learning more about how the vaccine works best. A booster shot 2 to 5 months after your COVID-19 vaccine significantly improves protection against COVID and its many variants. If you need a COVID-19 vaccine or a booster, there are free options for transportation and childcare that are available. To learn more about all of your options and where you can get your booster shot, go to kingcounty.gov/COVID/vaccine.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Right now, join us for the first time in this studio, in the Black Media Matters studio, Seattle Public School Board President Brandon Hersey. How are you?
Hey, man, I am blessed and highly favored and just excited to be back in the space with you, man. You know I love y'all over here.
Yeah, no, we were saying, me and Trey earlier, you've literally come a long way with us. You've seen us grow, huh?
Oh, man, I done seen y'all in 3 or 4 different studios at this point, and I got to say that this one really takes the cake, man. Y'all have really filled this with a really beautiful energy.
All right, good stuff. Before we jump into all the details about what's going on over at Seattle Public Schools, excuse me, I have one question for you.
Hey, shoot.
Are the youth still the truth?
Hey, man, every single day, brother, the youth are always the truth, man. And let me tell you, especially since COVID has started, you've been one of the few people I've been talking to regularly about what's going on at Seattle Public Schools. They have held us accountable at every step of the way, even as recently as like just last month, demanding KN95 masks, meetings with the governor, and just access to testing in general. So they have definitely told us exactly what they need, and I'm just happy to try to meet some of those demands.
These kids holding y'all accountable, huh?
As they should be.
All right, that's good. So, well, speaking of, let's start there, because it was just last month that it was a protest right there at Seattle school headquarters.
Hey man, they brought it to the front line, bro. Mm-hmm. They brought it right to us.
And what were some? I know you mentioned the mask. What were some of the demands? What were some of the things that you heard directly from the students?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that the biggest thing is just transparency to start with. It's very unclear, especially right now, what will cause a classroom or a school to go remote. And so they've been asking for us to publish our metrics, which we have, which is basically the information that we use to make decisions on whether a school is in person or remote. They've been demanding specifically KN95 masks, which, as you know, and everybody watching should know, that provide a higher level of protection than cloth masks. And specifically, they want a meeting with Jay Inslee, right, to make sure that he understands first and foremost what are their needs and what his decisions and policies do.
All right. Well, excuse me, Jay Inslee. That's the big boss. That's the governor. But right below the governor, though, is the superintendent of public instruction, which actually, the SPI is supposed to inform the governor and inform the governor's decision. Is anybody talking to the superintendent of public instruction?
So, interim superintendent Brent Jones has had regular communication with Chris Reichdahl, who serves as OSPI for the state. Vice President Hampton and myself have had different conversations with him. But one of the things that I just find really, hard to understand is, we were just talking, and recently he has said that he feels as though we might be in a position to where we can start going to a place where masks are only a recommendation in some of our schools instead of a requirement. And I just don't understand the logic behind it, aside from political pressure, especially as Omicron is just now starting to calm down and there are variants all over the place. So I'm really struggling to understand where the intellectual capacity is coming from for decisions like that.
Right. Well, it seems like maybe in a state as diverse as Washington State, where you have urban hubs, you have Seattle public schools, the biggest school districts, then Spokane public schools over on the other side of the state. You also got a lot of small towns and small counties here. So it very well might not be a one size fits all for all public schools in Washington State, right?
Absolutely. And, I want to make sure that I am very, open to the understanding that different communities have different priorities for their schooling and their systems or whatnot, right? But science is science no matter where you're at. And I understand the political pressure aspect of it, but there is nothing that, in my opinion, at this moment gives us the sense of pause or the clarity to, especially for a district the size of Seattle with the urban components, right? It's not a one size fits all model, but what we really need is, since the beginning of this pandemic, this leadership team has said that they are following science, right? And I get it. Mask mandates are tough. It's not a one size fits all situation. And wearing masks in school can detract from the relationships that can be formed interpersonally. But as these, summer months are on the heels, we are coming very close to, a place where we aren't worried as much about cold and flu season. It's warmer. People are spending more time outside. I feel as though for Seattle public schools, as the students have demanded KN95 masks just last month, that it's a clear directive, at least for our community, that our children need those masks in order to feel safer in their learning environments.
Now, speaking of that, I didn't get all the details on this, but I was following it. People were tagging me on different posts. Like at Franklin High School, it was just days of like no school, and you try to figure out what's going on. They were like, there's not enough teachers, or there's not enough this, or the kids were like, nah, we're not going to school today. It's not safe. What happened out there at Franklin High School?
Yeah, man. So I think that the story of Franklin is the story of many other schools, right? You know what I'm saying? What this really highlights is the disproportional impacts of COVID on communities, Black and brown communities, namely in the South End, right? Because over the course of this entire pandemic, as we've reopened schools specifically this year, we've had 10 schools out of the 104 that have closed due to COVID and about 60 classrooms that have pivoted to remote. So what this is showing me is that if our students are feeling unsafe, especially at these schools on the South End, that something's not adding up, right? Because as we've had this conversation before, we as people at the top of the system, we make policy, but we don't necessarily always see how that trickles down to each individual classroom. So for me, what that says is that somewhere in our chain of authority, we've got a breakdown in communication, or we've got a situation to where the resources that our students and our teachers need to feel safe aren't making it directly to them. And the issue becomes when there is a lack of resources and what has felt like a lack of leadership, folks take leadership into their own hands in order to keep their buildings as safe as possible, right? So what that tells me is that we need to do a better job of ensuring that the resources that we're putting in place are actually being utilized and getting to the folks that need them. But at the same time, we need to improve our communication so that we can make these types of decisions as a collective instead of having folks have to make these types of decisions on their own.
How can you make the students, I was going to ask you, how can you make the students feel more heard? But let me rephrase that. How can you just better listen to the students?
Give them what they asked for. That's exactly it. Because as you heard, one of the big demands that they had was KN95 masks, right? And in the last 2 weeks alone, since the end of January, we have delivered almost 500,000 KN95 masks, not only to educators, but to students 4th and 5th grade, all the way up to 12. And we've got 250,000 pediatric kid-size masks on the way that are on back order for the Department of Health, right? So I think that that's just one of the ways, right? Is not just listening, but delivering, but also being proactive about it. Actually looking for feedback and information from our students before it gets to the point to where they feel like they need to protest.
Yeah, because they take it to the streets.
They keep it all the way funky, man. They hit me up daily, as they should be. Please continue. And I want to make sure that I share out my contact information. But that's the only way we do better, right? Is making sure that folks are holding us accountable, especially the youth.
How long is the term for school board director?
About 4 years, man. So I've already put in my 2 and I got another 4.
I was going to tell you, what I'm saying, by the time the 4th year comes, you ain't going to have gray hair. You're going to have no hair like me.
Hey, man, it's going to be a wrap. I'm already losing it, bro. I'm already losing it.
All right. So, I mean, this is a big dollar school district. This is $1 billion school district, double the size and budget of Spokane, which is the second biggest school district in the state. $1 billion. You guys just got a bunch of levy money, right? Levies passed. Why don't you explain what happened with this levy, what money you got, what's going somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I want folks to understand is, first, thank you very much for your support on these levies. What folks don't really know is that levies make up about 15% of our operating budget, right? And so when folks are voting for these levies, they're actually voting to renew money that they have already voted in the previous levy. And so what that looks like is that this money is going to go specifically to not only athletics, but also improving and sustaining school buildings, building new buildings like the Dope High School that Rainier Beach is about to get. They're finalizing the process for that. But it's also going to pay for some nursing staff, mental health support, STEM, all the critical things that might not necessarily be directly related to education, but that make school is what our levies typically go to fund. So we're really excited about the funding that the Seattle voters have renewed, and we're just really in a position where we want to deliver for kids, and that money is going to be critical in that.
All right, so I got another important issue I want to get to, but before that, I got 2 things to do before that.
Shoot.
First of all, I'll let you give a shout out because my elementary school teacher, Barbara Nilsson, is watching right now.
Love it.
And this woman has such an impact on my life that all these decades later, like we still hang out. You know what I'm saying? We go to Mariners games and everything. What an impact public school teacher had on my life. She's watching right now. And a lot of times we talk about the school and some of the shortcomings, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times the educators get rolled up in that too. These guys show up for work every day. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to do their best to teach our kids.
Absolutely. And so what's the question you want?
No, I was just giving them a shout out.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The teachers, we forget about the teachers in these discussions.
Absolutely.
We talk about all the, people like you, elected, superintendents and stuff.
Right.
We forget about the teachers.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and what I just want folks to understand is that when we are thinking about the people who have some of the best and deepest relationships, long-lasting relationships with their students, it's their teachers. You know, I'm a former teacher. I taught second grade for 5 years in Federal Way. My mama was a teacher. My sister is a principal at the high school where we went. And so education for us in the relationship between a teacher and a student, even when my mama passed away, teachers were the ones that wrapped their arms around me, man. And I see that every day here in Seattle Public Schools as we're living through this crisis. And you're exactly right. We don't do enough to lift up our teachers, especially our teachers of color, who are not only combating the pandemic that is COVID, but also the pandemic that is racism in Seattle Public Schools. So if nobody has told y'all thank you today, please take it from me. We sincerely appreciate y'all.
Got him. And now, before I get to my other question, it's a real serious topic. It's real easy for us to always talk about Seattle Public Schools is failing this. You know what I'm saying? I mentioned it. I talk about the education gap, the people furthest. Here's the term from educational justice. Y'all got some issues over there, but you know what, man? You can't always. You got to give some space on some things. And so I know that there has to be some areas where you guys are achieving over there, or areas where you're making improvements. So I just want to give you a minute to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, man, there's a couple of reasons and a couple of things that we could talk about. I mean, if you look at the district as a whole, we are already, before COVID, operating on a thin margin. It is true that we are a $1 billion district, but we serve as many students as about a small town. You feel me? We got 50,000 students. And if everybody has 1.5 parents, that's like almost 100,000 folks, if not a little more. The town I grew up in served 130,000 people. So the staff that we have at the John Stanford Center, who are doing an amazing job, we are really trying to focus in on what does it look like not only to pivot to becoming a public health institution, right, on top of all the things that we were already trying to do, but also deliver education in a better way. And one thing that I really want to lift up is the leadership of Director Hampson. Over the past couple of years, she's been working with the Council of Great City Schools and helped lead our board through a completely different governance model. You know, the school board has been wildly dysfunctional for decades, especially in terms of the relationship with the superintendent. And very often the problems that we talk about are adult focused. So in the past year, we have made a transition and are in the midst of making a transition to what's called student focused outcomes governance, where the board is spending the vast majority of its time actually looking at student data and trying to understand, can our students read or can they not? Can they do math or can they not? And that is going to be a critical point of change, because that type of transition has to start at the top.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And Hampson also said when we did our community voices, almost 2 years ago. We did a community voices, and what Hampson said is also the setup here, the structure of it, the school board and the relationship with superintendent is archaic in a sense. It's a very outdated model that doesn't really fit, and it leaves the door open for dysfunction between the school board and the superintendent, right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And one thing that I also have to say is that it has just been a joy having Dr. Brent Jones there, somebody from community who has gone through Seattle Public Schools, who knows the inner workings of the district and can really reach across the many aisles that are in Seattle. I think that besides his operational expertise, just bringing a deep love and care for this community to the role is something that's been missing for a very long time. And it's honestly just a breath of fresh air, just as, you know, a young Black school board president, not only having a mentor, but a colleague in the superintendent, we've been able to accomplish some really great things in a short amount of time, and I'm just excited to see what we're going to be able to accomplish going forward.
Well, that's your colleague over there. Drop a bug in his ear. See if we can get Dr. Jones here so he can talk about the accomplishments over there at Seattle Public Schools.
Yes, I think that would be great, man, for sure.
All right, real serious one here I wanted to bring up for you is that a few months ago, after there was a shooting over by Garfield High School, I went to a community meeting in the Leschi neighborhood, and one of the things they talked about is they said they need more resource. They need, like, you know, mental health in school and all kinds of other things that they don't have the capacity for. And they were making an appeal to city government here, to like city council, to office of the mayor and everything else. And I mean, what they were saying is like, yes, you know, they also challenged parents. They said, hey man, show up, you know, make use of the space, run at the track field. You know what I'm saying? Right. So how can you mentor? So it was a call out for a lot of different things. But one of the main things that we heard is Seattle Public Schools may be getting more standing here in City Hall with the city council to get more resources in school that these kids need.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I meant. This type of change, and again, we've been talking about this for a long time, but this type of change has to start at the top. There's so much money in this area, whether it be from the school district, the city, X, Y, or Z, and we're all trying to attack the same problem from different areas, vastly, in my opinion, for clout. Everybody wants to be the ones to have solved the problem, but instead we need to take the approach that Black communities have always done and pull these resources and come up with a targeted plan for how we are going to solve some of these things, right? So I welcome the collaboration that we have seen, especially with the transition of Mayor Harrell and other city council folks that have really stepped up to the plate, quite frankly, and asked us personally what we need and how they can support, which has never happened. But it doesn't just need to end there. We need to get the county, the city, the school district all on the same page, because that's the only way we're going to solve a lot of these problems.
I was going to tell you, these guys are real good for listening. They'll definitely listen. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. And thank you for sharing your life journey and everything else. And you leave feeling good.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? All I'm telling you is, man, you got to keep the pressure.
Absolutely.
Trey, I'm going to tell you, we talk about don't take your foot off the gas.
Hey, man, we're not going to be done until the check's clear, bro. Because that's really what it's got to be. We got to be on the same page, not only mentally, but financially. And, people ain't going to show no type of regard for nothing until they start putting some money behind it. So while the conversations are great, you're exactly right. We cannot take our foot up off this gas, because the only result is that our kids are going to get left behind.
Yeah, we can't have that. They've been left behind for far too long. All right, we're going to let you get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Before we do, though, I know you're big on feedback. And while you still have this hair,
please.
we'll see where that hairline's at in 4 years. Man. While you still got this hair, man, go ahead right there in that camera. Tell people how they can keep up with you.
Hey, man, you can reach me at brandon.hersey@seattleschools.org. You can hit me up at School Board Brandon on Instagram. And those are going to be the main ways that you can get in touch with me. I try to be very responsive. But now that I am serving in this role as president, I got a lot more people in my ear. But hey, especially if you put in that email that Omari sent you, you're going to get a response that day.
Hey, listen, I'm going to do this too. Is that what you said? There's a lot of money that's out here, right? In our city and everything else. And man, I'm a big advocate for paying people, because you can hold them accountable. You guys are responsible for 50,000 plus children in our school district here, and school board directors are not paid
at all. We get a per diem, which is $50 a day if we have a meeting that day, not to exceed $4,600 a year.
So you got $1 billion school district, 50,000 kids, and basically you work for a $4,000 a year stipend.
Basically for gas money to get back and forth to meetings.
I think that's something people might want to look at. I mean, imagine the even higher level of accountability people have on you. You know what I'm saying? If the people were actually paying you for your job.
That's what I'm saying. And then you also got to think about what type of person has the ability to do this for free. If we're really trying to get folks that look like me and some of our other board directors that are there now, we have to make this accessible in the sense of being paid for the time, so that we don't have to work 3 and 4 jobs just to make this work.
There are some city council members that people might be willing to transfer their salary. Sorry. All right. Brandon Hersey, President, Seattle School Board. Thank you for joining us this morning.
The pleasure is all mine, man. I can't wait to be back.
All right. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we return, Trey Holiday comes back to the set. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands, culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love. Spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Trey Holiday back on the set.
Yeah. I mean, great discussion there with school board president Brandon Hersey. I really love hearing how they were allowing the youth to utilize their voices and step up to the plate because honestly, being led by them is the great way to go when you're talking about school district, school board. This is exactly on the right track. And I got to say, you know, when I was vice president at Garfield High School, we definitely led a little protest or two. You know what I mean? So I love seeing that the youth are empowered to utilize their voices for what they need and to bring about the change they want to see. I just love that.
You was vice president, huh?
Vice president, man. Me and Cecil Cross, my brother, mi hermano. He was president. I was vice president of Garfield High. Senior year.
Man, that's where this all political community organizing thing come from, huh?
It's always been in
back
you,
at the
brother.
doghouse, huh?
Always.
All right, good stuff. Okay, well, man, the rest of the week gets real busy for us. We got a whole bunch of stuff. You ready over there, Salman? All right, so tomorrow we're joined by Mike Davis. So we got Mike Davis. There he is. Reporter is South Seattle Emerald's going to be in the building. Then after that, Brian Callanan is going to give us an update from what's going on over there at City Hall, right? So we got Brian. And then, of course, the twins, the Factors, Ronald and Ronell Moore. They'll be in the building as well. Now, when we don't have a motion graphic for it, it's because I'm out tomorrow. And G-Prez Aspie is actually going to be with you here.
My brother G-Prez, love when he comes on. You know, he always has great energy. And so we're going to miss you, but you're replacing yourself with somebody impeccable.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, replacement with somebody even better. And don't have a slide for this, but Thursday, man, it's going to be an amazing show. We're going to have Julia Jesse, right? But also Cynthia Brothers from Vanishing Seattle. Thursday is Vanishing Seattle Day here on the Morning Update Show, and Shayna Shepherd. So Cynthia Brothers and Shayna Shepherd on Thursday. And so then, of course, we roll into Feel Good Friday.
I love that because, you know, I call her Cindy Bro. She's really a good friend, like a dear friend of mine. And the work of Vanishing Seattle, I talk about it all the time. For people that are outside of Seattle who don't know what's going on, they want to plug in to some of these closures and the way that gentrification is sweeping through our neighborhood. Vanishing Seattle is always my first resource. And so I'm so glad that she'll be on. And of course, you know, my girls, Shayna and Julia, like Julia's going to be in town with us. Love that they're going to be here.
Yeah, speaking of that, for the first time ever, right here in our Black Media Matters studio, Clapback Culture, be live. We'll have Mike Davis and Julia Jesse right here in studio. And, you know, that by its nature, that's a virtual show because Julia lives in Washington, D.C. And so it's always a big deal when she comes to town. So they'll be right here in the studio. That's going to be Thursday at 7 p.m. Looks like it's time to get out of here, Trey Holiday. Any last words before we go?
Last words for me, very consistent. You guys see yourself as a part of the solution. I mean, we have folks here clearly today. Our guy, Brandon Hersey, doing it all the way big with the Seattle School Board, and also Cream Bree over there at Rainier Avenue Radio. People are finding a way to see themselves as a part of the solution, but also staying true to who they are. And I love that because everybody has a passion that drives them when it comes to community work or volunteering or certain efforts around solution-oriented abilities or opportunities. Man, you guys be inspired. See yourself as part of the solution.
All right, good stuff. And we're ready to get out of here today. Our mayor, Bruce Harrell, is going to give a State of the City address at 2 p.m. He's addressing City Council, I guess, from the first time since 2016. Then the mayor has addressed the city council. You know, the last 2 years, because of COVID and maybe other reasons, it was a pre-recorded address from Mayor Durkin. So Mayor Harrell at 2 p.m. We'll see if we can carry that for you. But that's the state of the city address. So it'll be interesting to see what he's talking about. Otherwise, on that note, and we're going to leave you with a whole lot of hope here from Shayna Shepherd. But I want to remind you, go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
What do I see through a lens of fear? 1,000 little steps to go. What do I fear after all these years? Lord knows I don't even know. I've been running on the edge of a sundial, sleeping in the shadow. I've been begging you to see me, then hiding beyond the unreachable. Looking out left on a right-hand turn, just trying to make a deal. Lazy shoes and love is a love that churn. That's the kind of food that heals. I've been searching for the end of an era, waiting to be ready. The world is bigger than a moment. Be steady, that's how you can feel it's real. But I feel naked in my new clothes, 'cause I got used to hiding the holes. This whole world got new tricks and I'm in the thick of it. This I swear I'm already sick of it. At least I found the antidote. Oh. I know no one is a shadow. 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 No one is a shadow. But I feel naked in my new clothes, 'cause I got used to hiding the